Hello, we're live. Welcome. We are going live with Bronson, Norris, Murphy. Hello, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Okay. Okay, hello, welcome. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We'll be going live with Bronson, Norris, Murphy soon. Hi, welcome, everyone. Hello.
Hi! I'm glad this is working. I wasn't sure I had it all set up right, so here we are.
How are you?
I'm well, and you?
Good.
Good.
Let me,
At 7 o'clock, we salute our frontline workers by banging pots and pans and things, and that's all happening right now in my ear. So if you can hear that,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
well, that we've gone live with it are in New York.
God, gotcha.
Yeah. So good to see you. I'm just letting everyone tune
Thank
in.
you.
If you guys
Yeah.
are in, we are live with Bronson Norris Murphy, and if you want to tell us where you're tuning in from, feel free to comment that. I'm in Durham, and he's in New York City, so it's cool. We're tuning in from all over.
Yes.
So I guess I'll just start off with like, how are you doing? What's new? I know it's a very challenging time for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's different. I'll say that. I'm lucky that I'm not finding it too burdensome or oppressive or anything like that. I quite enjoy being home in my apartment, which is where I've been. I was in Canada doing a concert the day before they closed the borders, I think, or not closed the borders. We were afraid they were going to close the borders. Our concert got canceled right after our first rehearsal, so we raced back home, and that was the last time I was like out in public, which was now like 30, 38 or 39 days ago. So it's just been a lot of video projects and audio projects and things like that, keeping me entertained and kind of a few redecorating things, keeping the
Yeah,
house steady. But
hugs, they're beautiful.
thank you.
I was gonna ask, like, how are you staying sane? Is that one of the things, like, is redecorating? And you also said cooking and eating.
Yes, I do love to eat. That is true. I do love being in the kitchen, cooking. The rugs were just kind of a whim. I think I was on Instagram and saw an ad for that company, and I was like, "Oh, these look nice," and they were really cheap. And I was like, "Let me try these." I needed new rugs for my kitchen, and they came like 6 days. They were here, and I laid them today, and they look great, I think.
Those ads are amazing. I got the same thing on Facebook, but for new sheets, and I ordered them, and like I think the next day or like 2 or 3 days they were at my doorstep. I was like, this is
Perfect.
yeah.
Yeah. So cooking, eating. I've been watching a lot of television, which I consider research, right? It's business research. A lot of movies. Yeah, and a lot of.
Favorite things that you're watching right now?
Well, I'm a few years late to This Is Us, but I am steadily catching up. It's gorgeous storytelling. I'm loving, loving, loving it. Also, Lucifer is actually a series that I find pretty intriguing. At night, I think the guy that plays Lucifer is hilarious. So those are my two kind of steadies, and then I'll throw anything else in throughout the day. Judge Judy, always watching Judge Judy at 4 o'clock.
Nice. I've heard good things about Lucifer. I just got into Fleabag and Never Have I Ever.
I
Fleabag is
haven't seen the Fleabag, so good. I haven't seen the other one, but Fleabag, oh my gosh! And I accidentally watched season two first.
oh,
I
I
didn't realize what was going on, but yeah,
yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
Um, if you guys have questions, also comment them below. But we have people from all over. I've seen Belgium, Canada, California, New Jersey. That's awesome.
Sweet.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Somebody
Um,
was messaging me that she's like, well, now I have to stay up till midnight where I am. It's like, well, what do you have to do tomorrow? I don't know.
um, Are you finding this time more restful or productive? You mentioned that you're doing some like audio projects and video projects.
I'm finding it much more restful. I'm like the things I'm doing are definitely by choice. I'm gonna turn this light down a little bit. It's a little much. Um, I'm raising money for Broadway Cares doing cameos. So, I'll get a few of those a week and do those, and they're fun. And um, when performing arts organizations or theaters that I've worked for in the past reach out, I've been doing videos and things for them. So it hasn't been like a steady onslaught of work. Um, so it's much more restful, relaxing.
Yeah,
But
and you've gone on tour, so you're used to on Broadway like 8 shows a week. So I can imagine
yeah,
from that to like being at home.
yeah, it's that delicate balance of like now I get to rest my body and my voice versus don't let the cobwebs grow in, you know?
Yeah, yeah. How are you finding that balance? Like, do you do vocal exercises every day, or do you sing, or like a few times a week, or
A few times a week. So not every day because there's no use putting that much strain on the voice. Or not strain, but use work. But yeah, a few times a week I will, and anytime I have to do a video or an audio, I will.
um, what have been some of your favorite things to do while you're at home?
While I'm at home, well, definitely being in the kitchen. I like having a routine. I'm a type A kind of person, so first thing in the morning is opening the window curtains and the blinds, and if it's nice enough, opening the windows to let fresh air in. And then I always make the bed and then do the dishes. Those are the first two things I do. And then whatever is next, yoga or today I had a cameo to make. Or I had groceries delivered and then a cameo to make. So it's just I like just puttering around the house, figuring out. I just downloaded a sound mixing program, and I'm just kind of pressing buttons on that and figuring things out. Just keeping busy.
And for those that don't know, could you explain what Cameo is? It's really cool.
Yeah, Cameo is a platform like this where fans of artists, television stars, movie, sports, anybody kind of that is in a spotlight or has been in a spotlight at one point, fans can reach out to them and request video shout outs. So you basically, all my proceeds go to a charity, but a lot of people do it for their own padding their financial income, things like that, which is also fine. But you basically pay for a video and you can request certain things. Um, the only request I've had to turn down so far is will you dress as the Phantom and tell my friend that he's a great friend? And I would have loved to have done that, except I don't have a Phantom costume lying around here. So I had to turn that one down. But all the songs, people ask for songs all the time or shout outs for graduation. It's a great service. It's cameo.com.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my coworkers did it for a friend, and they got like their favorite reality TV star. So yeah, no, it's really neat, and that's cool that you're donating the proceeds.
Yeah, it's a fun project to do. I love connecting with the fans or whoever is interested in hearing from me. And it's just I mean, I guess it's not really a connection because I don't get to see them, but I get to hear from them in their written requests, and then fulfill that. And they've been fun.
What's like something you think you could say you've learned from this time, either about yourself or like the world?
I I've definitely learned to take like quiet time, like doing nothing is okay. I don't live like that normally. If I'm not teaching one class or running to a show or running to an audition, I don't know what to do if I'm not busy. And I've really had to just settle down and learn that quiet time is restorative. It's good for you, and you have to honor that and respect it.
That's really I'm learning that too. But I also tend to keep busy. It's really challenging.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so you talked about what you're watching. What are you reading and listening to?
Well, I've there's a new it's not new. The what's it called? Oh gosh, the Dolly Parton podcast. Some America. I can't remember right now. My good friend Michael got me hooked on it. It's pretty great. Also, in the terms of music, I'm interested in this new to me group, a duo called Brooklyn Duo. They're a pianist and a cellist, and they're just gorgeous arrangements of old pop songs and standards, but usually filmed what seems like in their apartment. It's just really good, relaxing music to cook to relax by. Those have been my two kind of quarantine discoveries.
It's neat how we're discovering because I've also discovered some new music that is not new, but it's new to me because we have our
Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna
Hmm.
turn it over to some of the questions that were submitted. So Norris
Okay.
asked, "What's your favorite song in Love Never Dies?"
My favorite song in Love Never Dies. That is like asking me to pick my favorite child. Um, I wonder if he means, well, I'll give two answers, I guess. My favorite song to sing is the reprise of Till I Hear You Sing, which in the show is called Before the Performance. Mainly because any song you get to sing where you slam a door on the button is fun. um, and as maybe Once Upon Another Time. No, that's not from Once Upon a Moonless Sky. That's what I meant to say. One of the duets in the hotel scene. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous duet between the Phantom and Christine. I love singing that, but I also love listening to it.
He also asked, which I don't think, but I'm gonna ask you, did you ever play the same role in two different shows? Like, did you ever play something in Love Never Dies and Phantom of the Opera, the same role, but in two different shows?
No,
I didn't
no.
think so.
I played Raoul on Broadway, but I
Mm,
played the Phantom on tour. So no, I didn't ever cross over. Mm.
okay. That's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure because I did my research and I was like, I don't think so.
Yes, thank you. Most people get it wrong. They think I've played the Phantom on Broadway, which is not true.
Yeah, that's why I was checking because I was like, am I missing something?
Yeah, thank
Um,
you.
yeah. Then Sophie asked, who got the idea of the almost kisses beneath the moonless sky and once upon another? Was it the director or was it improvised by you and Megan?
It was the director. It was definitely Simon Phillips, our director. And I say it's him. It could have been improvised in the Australian version that they did originally, but we restaged the Australian version, and it was his piece of direction that it just like almost gets there, and then they realize they can't follow through. Keep the tension high, he says.
Yeah. We just got one question submitted, right? Sally
Okay.
said, still a swing in Phantom of the Opera.
Yes, I am going on. Well, with the exception of the 18 months I did Love Never Dies, going on 5 years now.
That's awesome. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Um, Sophie also asked, what is the most challenging song you sing?
I think the most challenging song I ever sang, was that the question?
Yeah.
I think for a vocal technician, the song Maria from West Side Story is super challenging just because of its range. But I'll tell you, Till I Hear You Sing from Love Never Dies is a broader range. It's just easier to sing because it's kind of all forte. It's just heavy and loud, whereas Maria goes from a, a big high B flat, but then almost 20 bars later, you have to float an A flat. So that's really challenging. And that's one song that every time I get asked to sing it on a concert or something, I really have to go back and look at and be like, where do I flip this and where do I do that and where's that breath coming from? Where Till I Hear You Sing can kind of just happen.
That was a good question and that was an interesting
Yeah.
answer. We got another question from Sally. She said, is it hard to be a swing and keep all the parts memorized?
Not anymore. But I'll tell you, there was a learning curve. I joined the company in 2014 and I learned one role in 4 days. And then I started performing that role at night while learning the next role during the day. And that went on for a while. And over the course of 2 years, I learned 10 tracks. Um, and there's no shame in saying that when I get called to go on for a certain track, I will always look at my notes. Sometimes I have the notes in my pocket because it's not just what I say and do on stage, it's backstage, which dressers do I go to? Where do I go for my wigs? What makeup plot am I wearing? So I have what I call my Phantom of the Opera Bible, and it's full of tracking sheets that help me remember what to do and how to do the show in one of 10 different roles.
I think that's a big thing people don't realize that are outside, like watching the show, the behind the scenes and how much like choreography is happening backstage that you don't see.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's not nearly as entertaining as what's happening on stage, but it's more important.
Yeah. We got another question, which is, what advice do you have for aspiring actors slash actresses?
Mm. Well, first off, you have to know your craft. So that doesn't mean you have to go to some big expensive music theater school, but you do need to learn the foundation of singing, acting, and dancing, so long as you want to do uh, all three of those things. Um, and you need to invest in knowing the business. So you need to be able to have a conversation with somebody that is at a certain level of vocabulary and knowledge about the industry we're in. That goes hand in hand with learning how to sing, act, and dance. And then finally, you have to be the kind of person that somebody wants to work with, and that's on stage and off stage. So if you can get all three of those things under your belt, if you can, you know, achieve those three things, then you're basically at a starting line to take off in the career. And all of those things can be achieved in school if that's what you choose to do, or just in training sessions and classes.
I loved on your website it said, in a world where you can be anything, be kind.
Yes, that's my life's motto. I have it all over my house.
You're the third person that I've interviewed, like actor, that has shared that sentiment about like it's really important to be nice. Like that's and it's interesting. Like I don't know if that's something they teach actors in school, but it's definitely it's I can see that it's very important to like growing your career and getting more jobs.
It's super important because if it comes down to you and two other actors who both deliver the goods as well as the others, they are going to go with the person either they've worked with before and loved, or the person whose what's the word I'm trying to think of, reputation precedes them. So if word on the street is, Bronson's a good guy, he's fun to work with, and word on the street is Sam Bob here isn't, they're going to go with me because
Yeah,
Sam Bob isn't going to be fun to work with.
yeah. Um, Another question, which I don't know if this one's going to be like choosing your favorite child, but this person asked, "What character is your favorite to play in Phantom on Broadway?"
Oh, well, Raoul is the most interesting because of all the ones I do. He has the most to do in the show, but Monsieur Rayet is kind of the most fun and the most like me because he's a choir teacher and he's a little persnickety, and I think I am too.
I'm just looking at the comments. Um, it looks like we got one submitted. I'm gonna click and see. Hold
Okay.
on. These are funny.
No,
What's your favorite scene from Finding Nemo? Have you seen Finding Nemo? That's the
I
question.
can't say that I have. I wouldn't know how to describe a scene in Finding Nemo.
Yeah, I don't know if I would either. Okay. Then someone asked favorite Christine costume.
Ooh, I wonder. Well, let's pick one from both. So in Phantom of the Opera, it's the blue wishing dress. So beautiful. The one she wears in Managers too. And in Phantom of the Opera, I mean, in Love Never Dies, I love the kind of red velvet thing that she wears when she makes her first entrance. I'm a big sucker for red, my favorite color.
That's my
And I
favorite.
think that hat is to die for. So that's mine.
That's my favorite color too. That's funny because Love Never Dies. The one that sticks out to me is I think the peacock look.
Yeah.
That's the one that I like remember in my mind.
But, but see, I, if a lot of fans are here or watch this later, I'll get a lot of trouble for this. But I think without the backdrop, the peacock gown isn't nearly as glorious. And if it's just the gown, just the outfit itself, then I have to go with the red. But the overall look of the peacock moment, stunning.
That
But
makes
the
sense.
gown itself, I mean, it's gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. But I love the red. I love the red.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I'm looking at the other submitted questions. This one's hard, I think, but I'm gonna ask. If you could create a
Okay.
musical based on one subject, film, series, or book, or like anything, I guess, what would it be? So I guess they're asking if you were to create a musical, what would it be about, or what would it be based on?
Oh gosh.
I thought that was hard.
The first thing that came to mind was The Golden Girls. I think that would be a fantastic musical. But I think there's a parody in New York of something very similar to that. So maybe it's already been done. But I don't think I'd actually be in that unless, one of them has a grandson or something that I could play. But I think that would be so much fun to see a Golden Girls musical.
Yeah, that's really you would be a big hit with my coworkers because one is a huge Golden Girls fan and one is a huge Dolly Parton fan. So I don't know, but if they're watching, they're like flipping out right now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else I've been watching recently. Like, This Is Us is way too expansive to be be a musical, but certain plot lines of that I think could really sing. But that's just because I'm watching it right now.
Yeah. Um, we got someone asked again about the understudy, different roles, and how do you deal with that. You kind of answered that, but if you have anything you want to add, feel
Yeah,
free.
I'd say half the battle of that is good note-taking skills. Like, I write down start on your right foot or put your left foot on this crease in the stage. I write down every detail because I might do that role on January 5th and not look at it again until August 12th. So I need every detail written down, and that's how I get through that. We only
That's
make it look easy.
Yeah, no, I'm so impressed because I've met a lot of the people that play like 8 roles, and I'm like, I don't even know if I can keep track of one. That's really amazing.
hmm
Uh,
hmm
Someone asked, who are you a big fan of, or who's your role model, and have you ever met them?
Um, well, while she's not my role model, I'm a huge fan of Judge Judy Shineland, and I have met her. Yes, I have.
Oh,
Um, Career-wise, I don't know. I have a lot of people whose careers I respect and admire and kind of wish pieces of their career could befall me, but I don't really have like an idol or anyone within the musical theater that I strive to emulate or be like at all. Yeah.
I think this is a good segue because someone asked, have you met Andrew Lloyd Webber? And
Oh
I think,
yeah.
yeah, if you could
Oh
talk
yeah.
about, I was like, and I think you were before you met him, you were a big admirer of his work.
You have done your research. I applaud you. Yes. Now I can't even pretend to call him, an idol because I could never strive to even do an ounce of what he's done in the world. So I leave him out of this world of being an idol, but he is somebody I very much look up to. I am a huge fan of Andrew's music. It's been in my life since I think the perhaps one of the very first professional shows I ever saw was a dinner theater production of Jesus Christ Superstar. And at that point, I didn't know who Andrew Lloyd Webber was. But then I got introduced to the double cassette of Phantom of the Opera, and I discovered who Andrew was and saw the Phantom of the Opera on tour and just became enamored with his music, Starlight Express, and The Woman in White later on, um, and I've had the great fortune of working with him on several projects. I just finished my fifth Andrew Lloyd Webber show, and working directly with him on two of those, one world premiere and one U.S. premiere.
I didn't exactly meet him, but I saw him at a conference and it was really interesting. It was a musical theater like Broadway conference and he solicited the room for ideas for his next show. He was like, if anyone has a good story, come see me. And I thought that was really cool.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I thought that
I'm excited. He's doing Cinderella. He's written his own version of Cinderella, and I'm really excited to see what that's going to be.
yeah. We have another question. What was the hardest scene to play in Love Never Dies? And they wrote, saw you in Detroit, you were wonderful.
Oh, how nice. Um, the hardest scene to do for me was the end of Act One. The beauty underneath is so physically demanding. Running around dragging a child behind you, dodging these big prisms. Then the emotional arc of what happens in the show, and all the screaming and the crying and the falling on the knees and wigs off and wigs on, and it's just a juggernaut of a scene. And then it ends with this huge singing while the stage revolves. And I remember every night just being like, please get me through this scene. Please don't let me pass out right here. And I would cut off from that last note, and then the direction is to like stagger off stage as if you don't realize where you are. You're seeing things for the first time. And 9 times out of 10, I was just literally panting to get off the stage. That was a very hard scene to do, because I think from the time I came on to do that scene to when I left was probably a solid 20 minutes of the show. And it's just go, 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 go. So all of that, all of the end of Act One.
We have one more question. What was it like seeing Phantom and then later being in it?
Unbelievable. I mostly remember because the first time I saw it was on tour. Then I went to New York for the first time when I was a senior in high school, but we did not see Phantom, although I really wanted to. There wasn't much leniency in what we were allowed to do. So when I first moved to New York, The Little Mermaid was actually the first show I saw, but Phantom was a close second. And then I would get back row mezzanine seats almost every Thursday when I didn't have class. Not every week, but often when classes weren't scheduled. And I would watch from like the $30 seats in the back of the house. And then when I got hired, the first time I was in the building as a paid employee to watch the show, I lost my mind. I sat at the sound booth tracking and just was like, I can watch this show for free now for the rest of my life.
That's really like wow. Like to see
Yeah.
your eyes. That's really cool. Um, Thank you guys for submitting so many questions. This is so exciting for me because usually I'm coming up with them, but people are writing it, and so I'm excited.
Sweet. Oh, good.
What would be your ideal role to play?
A brand new role that nobody's ever played before, that is extremely doesn't have to be similar to me in what circumstances I might be put under in my life, but extremely similar to who I am as a human being, so I can play it truthfully, and with glorious music by someone like Andrew Lloyd Webber.
That's a great answer. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I think it's every actor's dream to originate something.
Yeah.
And although it had been done in other countries, Love Never Dies was really close to that for me. And then the show I did after, sometime after, Unmasked, although I wasn't playing a character, I was just, part of a review. But that was the first time we were doing that show for the world premiere. So I got to kind of infuse myself into the stuff I was doing for that.
That's neat. Sally asks, do you prefer to stay in character backstage?
Absolutely not. No. It's, I play a lot of dark people. Tony's not a dark person, but he has dark moments. Jekyll and Hyde, the Phantom, these people. And I mean, I hit the footlights and it has to be there. But when I get off the stage, I want anything but that because I need a relief. I need some relief from it. So I'm definitely out of character backstage. That doesn't mean I'm not focused, but I'm not the character.
Um, someone asked, can you identify with any part of the Phantom's character?
100%. 100%. I don't think you cannot realistically play a character unless you can understand or identify with who they are. We all know what it feels like to be passionate about something to the point of even its detriment. Um, we all know what it feels like to love and to have lost. We all know what it feels like to be blocked in some way. Like I can't get this poem out, or I can't write this song today, or I can't make this presentation because something's in my way. There are so many aspects of the Phantom. Most people go to like murderer, can't relate to that. Deformed, like yeah, he's physically deformed, but you can put in whatever shame you've ever felt in your life. If I think, my arms aren't big enough, then at some point somebody's probably made me feel shame about that, and I can use that to think, how would that feel if this was my whole left side of my face or right side of my face? So yeah, there's a million things about the Phantom that I relate to, and that's why I loved playing him.
Um, we have Love Never Days, I think. Says, hi,
Love Never Dies. Yes, I think I know who you're talking about.
hi Bronson, love the shirt. How did you first react when you found out you got the role of Phantom in Love Never Dies?
Well, I started the show as the alternate. So I was scheduled to do two performances a week, and then I had an ensemble track that I did 6 times a week. That didn't last very long. I opened the show in Detroit as the Phantom. So I kind of had two moments of like, oh my gosh, I got the part. Um, so the first time was thrilling. I'd had 4 or 5 auditions, and there was a long period where tapes of me had been sent to Andrew for his approval where we didn't hear from him. And I was thinking, oh, well, I've got this great job on Broadway. I guess I'm not missing out on much. But it turned out, you sorry, I'm back. Um, so I was thrilled to get the role. Um, but it was a lot of businessy stuff, like salary and travel plans and all that kind of stuff. But it was still thrilling. But when I was told you're going to premiere the role of the Phantom across the U.S., then it was kind of like cannons and confetti. It was just amazing. It was wonderful.
And I'm just looking. I was going to ask you, so you talked about seeing your first, I think, Andrew Lloyd Webber show, but could you talk about like your some of your journey to like being an Andrew Lloyd Webber show? So it started in Cats, right? It was a regional production, I
Yes, I'm really impressed by you. You're very good at what you do.
think. Yeah.
Yes. So I was in grad school. I was between years in grad school. And I just done, I think I was between years. No, no, no. I was finishing grad school. And I just done a production of Candide at NYU. And the choreographer of that show needed an operatic tenor to play Gus the theater cat and Growl Tiger in a regional production of Cats. So she had me audition, and I got the part. And I learned all of Cats, all of the original choreography in 6 days. The whole cast did 6 days to from hello, I'm Bronson to here we are in a final dress rehearsal, 6 days. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the score. I fell in love with the choreography. I fell in love with being a cat. And right after that production closed, I came back to New York, and the national tour of Cats was auditioning. And so I went in for the same track I played regionally, but I knew all the choreography, so I convinced them in the audition that I was actually a dancer, which I'm not. But I could do what they needed for that track. And so I got that part, and I went on tour for, I think that show for me was 11 months. And then moved back to New York and did some non-Andrew Lloyd Webber things for regional theaters before I did Cats again in the round. That was different, but same choreography. But then I was auditioning for an Andrew Lloyd Webber show called Evita, the national tour of the new Broadway production, and had a gazillion callbacks for that. Like I was in my 12th or 13th audition, and it just didn't work out. They just couldn't use me. So they cast the show, and 6 months later, they called me back to replace somebody. But the music team said, would you rather go on tour or would you rather be in Phantom on Broadway? And I was like, are you kidding? Are you kidding? So that's when I started Phantom on Broadway. And then Love Never Dies happened. And then I did get to do Evita at City Center, the New York, the revival here in New York. I did finally get to do Evita. And then we just did the world premiere of Unmasked. So from a 6-day regional production of Cats to 5, major New York area productions, that my time with Weber has grown vastly, and hopefully it's not over yet, because I just love people. I love everyone works with him. I love his music.
Yeah, that's a cool story. I just want to respond to the comments. So someone said, please save this. So first off, I'm going to do my best, but Instagram is like having a lot of problems recently. I've noticed a lot of people haven't been able to save them, but I will do everything in my power to save this. And I also just posted our first one with Jay Harrison G on YouTube, part of it, because it's been really
Oh,
hard to.
fun.
Yeah, so if you guys want to go back and watch that, but I'm gonna do my best to post them all. And then we had another question, which is, what universities did you attend, and what are your degrees specifically in?
Um, my undergraduate degree is from Western Kentucky University in music education with an emphasis in choral conducting and vocal performance. And my master's degree is from New York University, Steinhardt School, a master's of music in vocal performance, specializing in music theater. They're hanging right here, just out of the frame. Sorry.
No, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Speaking of vocal performance, I was gonna ask you, what are some like tips or tricks or hacks for like keeping your voice strong?
Mm. Well, foundation training is first off. Find a teacher that you love having rapport with, who is pedagogically minded, who knows not just what to do, but how to teach you how to do it. That infuriates me a lot in our business is a lot of people sing for a living, and when they're not making a living singing, they decide to teach what they think they do, which isn't necessarily going to work for everybody. So I think it's really good for students to discern, like, has this person studied how to be a voice teacher? Not just has this person won a Tony Award? Because those are two different, vastly different professions. Um, so now that I can get off that soapbox. So training first, of course, and then keeping your voice healthy is about maintenance. So it can be anything from your diet, if you're affected easily by that, drinking lots of water, all the things you've heard of, cayenne pepper teas and things like that. Those are, in case of an emergency or colds or something like that. But maintaining flexibility and strength in your vocalises, vocal warm-ups, breathing exercises, yoga, cardio, weight training, whatever you're doing, it all serves the whole body because singers, our instrument isn't here, it's from here down to my toes. We have to use the whole thing. So it's about keeping everything in shape.
That was good. I'm a singer,
Thanks.
so I'm asking partially for me, but partially because I felt like people are tuning in that also do singing.
Yeah.
One of your fellow castmates from Love Never Dies, I'm gonna butcher her name, I think, but Lauren
Oh
Lucasen
yes, you got. Oh, good job, you got it.
loves you. Yeah,
Oh,
I think you did our takeover, Lauren. So thank you for tuning in.
our
I recommend.
beautiful redheaded showgirl,
Yeah.
showghoul. Aw,
Very- if you guys have more questions, now's the time to. Oh, she said I nailed her name. Thank
you
you.
did. That was great.
If you have more questions, now's the time to ask them. Oh, another question a lot of people ask is, how did you get your start in theater? Like, when did you realize that that's what you wanted to do with your life?
Um, More than halfway through college. I definitely went to college to be a music teacher. I was convinced that's what I wanted. And my motivation for moving to New York was to get a master's degree in music, fulfilling my whim of singing so that I could use that degree to finish my teaching certificate. So even when I moved to New York, I still had the idea of I'm getting a 2-year master's program to finish my teaching certificate. But then I moved to New York and I do just love theater. And I thought, let me dip my toes in here. And the first job I got, I graduated NYU in May, and I knew before I graduated that I was going to do the Cats tour. So I didn't leave, and I was just lucky that the industry took me in. Um, so that's when I knew. When the industry said, "Hey, you can be a part of us," then I was like, "Oh, okay, I will."
Wow. And that's, um, you still kind of get the best of both worlds because you still do a lot of teaching, it sounds like.
I do a lot of teaching, just not like I thought I was going to do in my own classroom that I could, arrange and decorate and make my own, I do a lot more conservatory level, collegiate level teaching,
Mhm.
um, which is still a ton of fun, but it's not what I thought I wanted to do.
Hmm, that's interesting. Lauren asked, how do you keep up with your social media fans?
How do I keep up what?
With your social media fans.
Who asked that, Lauren?
Lauren, yeah.
Day by day. I love it. I love it. Um, I've always said, you know, we give of ourselves reciprocally as artists. So if I've done something on stage, whether it's the Phantom or whether it's just a concert or something, and it moves you enough to even log on to this thing and write me a message of thanks or appreciation, much less send artwork or, a trinket or whatever, I take that very seriously because I know that something I did motivated you to do something, and here we are in a cyclical art giving. And I think this is a wonderful way to not only give back, but just to connect. And I try to do that with our fans to a degree. Sometimes you just can't. I can't I can't carry on an actual conversation with everyone that I follow or who follows me on Instagram. But I can certainly like a comment or put out stuff that I think you're going to enjoy. Um, and I also know that down to the brass tacks, without the people who love, without the social media fans who have started following me because of Love Never Dies, we wouldn't have had a successful tour without those people. And if I can help that, then by opening up a little bit to a world that's, behind a screen, I'm very happy to do that. Always.
I'm a big fan of that, and I think that's like really, it's really unique when someone responds. So it's nice. Like I've as a fan and as like a digital marketing person, it's interesting. Like when you get a response, it's like, oh my God, there's a real person.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. And that's another thing that we should consider is that some of the celebrities actually don't know their login information to Instagram, like some corporations doing that. So we have to forgive that they don't even want to be bothered with that. But like I can't imagine. I mean, I definitely run my own Instagram, and I can't imagine getting notices or notifications of messages that are just kind without responding something. At
yeah,
least acknowledging that I've read it.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. If I ever become famous, I'll keep that in mind
Yeah, yeah, me too. I'm not gonna ship my IG off to anyone.
too. We got another question from Sally. She says, "Does jumping off the bridge as Raul scare you?"
Yes, yes. What's even worse is when you're learning how to do it, they put the bridge, it's on a thing called the travelator. They put the bridge at stage level, and basically you just jump off the stage into the hole, which is already scary because the crash pad that you land on is, I think, 3 or 4 feet below the stage. So that's a 3 foot jump. And then you get on the bridge, and that adds 1 foot. And then they take the bridge up when you're comfortable, up and up and up, and you jump and you jump and you jump and you jump. And by the day you finish teching that jump, you've had the best lower body workout because you also have to like get yourself out of the hole to climb up the ladder and do it all again. I was sweating like I've never sweated before out of fear, out of nerves, and out of pure physical exhaustion the day I learned that. It still terrifies me to this day. It's much easier to do in the context of the show than in any rehearsal or any time you're learning it because the adrenaline of saving Christine helps you just let go of the bar and make the 12-foot jump. um, Plus, the fog and the candles make the stage look like it's closer to you than it actually is. But I always hold my breath. It's unnerving, and I can't believe they make us do that.
That was a great question. Um, I don't know if I didn't do this research, but are you a vegan?
No, I'm vegetarian.
Okay, because someone said, "What is your favorite vegan food?" And is it difficult to be vegan on tour? But maybe they meant vegetarian.
Let me tell you though, Lauren is vegan, and we would always, she and two of our other friends would have vegan Sundays every Sunday that we could. And my favorite find on tour is the Chicago Diner, which is a vegan diner in Chicago. And I have never had food as good in my life and zero animal products. It was amazing. But being vegetarian, to answer the question, being vegetarian on tour is not difficult. It just limits your choices.
Yeah. I have a lot of food restrictions too, and I found that to be true. I think the world's becoming more accepting of people's different. Oh, the person that asked was
Oh
vegan.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. But yeah, you see now even like Burger King and I don't know who else. KFC is talking about making a vegan chicken. You know, Burger King has the Beyond Burger or whichever one. Random fast food places are starting to get on the trend, and I would drive through those places when I was just not willing to go to a restaurant or not wanting to cook. So yeah, it's definitely they're definitely jumping on with diet restrictions and things.
Who are some of your musical heroes besides Andrew Lloyd Webber?
Frank Wildhorn is another. Steve Sondheim is one. Um, Adam Gettle. I'm just thinking about music theater. Um, but outside of that, I'm not to reiterate, not to mention her again, but Dolly Parton, I think changed the musical. I grew up in Kentucky, um, just hours away from the Smokies, so she influenced my musical life. Um, a lot of country music artists. Vince Gill was maybe the first cassette I ever listened to. Um, yeah, those are the first five that came to mind.
Someone, Lauren wrote Judge Judy.
She's not a musical influence, Lauren. She is an everything influence.
um, what inspired your new Simply Live series, which I cannot emphasize how much I absolutely love?
Who said that? That's so nice.
Love Never Dies?
Yes. Oh, that's so very nice. What inspired that? Well, to be quite honest, I was sitting on a bunch of recordings of me singing in random venues across the country that I'd never done anything with. And so I thought, well, I'm not singing live for anybody. I might as well remind people what it used to sound like to sing live. And I kind of started to think, like, do I want to put out recordings of me singing that haven't been, mastered or leveled out or auto-tuned? And I was like, of course I do, because when I sing live, I'm not auto-tuned. I might have reverb or something on a mic, but whatever the sound designer of that particular concert chose to do is what got recorded. So I just decided to put them all together and release them and just make sure everybody knows that, like, I'm not trying to promote a CD here. These are like just actual, might as well be in your iPhone in the audience. So they're real rustic, but they're exactly what you would have heard if you'd been at any of those concerts. And I'm glad people are enjoying it.
Yeah, other people are tuning in, I mean, chiming in and saying they love it.
Oh, good.
And someone asked, how do
Yeah,
I subscribe to your series? Where is it? Is it on Instagram or YouTube or
it's on
where?
YouTube.
Okay.
It's called simply Bronson Norris Murphy Simply Live series, and I don't really know how to subscribe to it.
Probably if
I
you,
just learned how to put it together.
yeah, if you subscribe to his channel, you'll probably get notifications.
Yeah, you could just search any of the songs and they'll all come up. But there's a playlist. You can just play the whole thing if you want.
And then someone else asked, what was the most difficult scene to perform in either Love Never Dies or Phantom? You answered it for one of them. I forget which one you answered.
Yeah, Love Never Dies, the end of the first act. In Phantom, the most difficult scene to do as Raoul is not because it's physically demanding; it's a mental challenge. The dressing room scene. Um, there's something about what is it? Oh gosh, I haven't thought about Raoul in a long time. There's some interval that you have to pick out of nothing. Like the orchestra plays something, and the trick, I remember the trick. Whatever the orchestra has just played, in order to get your first pitch, you have to sing whatever they played, whatever they've ended on. You have to sing da da da, masquerade in your head, masquerade in your head, and then that's your pitch to sing. And I never get it right. I never, ever, 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 ever get it right. But the next bar, I'm usually on because I've heard something. So I always trip myself up when I think about that in rehearsal and stuff. Other than that, managers, one, is a challenge because you've got seven, I think it's seven people singing at you, and just musically it's a challenge. But I think I get most nervous for that one single pitch in the dressing room scene in Phantom.
It's interesting. A lot of it, that just goes to the point of like a lot of it's very mental. Because if you didn't like get yourself lost like that, you might just do it. At least that's
It's
my
probably the easiest thing in the world, but because when I was learning it, somebody was like, "Oh, this is oh, everybody messes this up, but here's the trick." And then you get up there and like they're playing some other thing. They're not playing masquerade, but you have to think masquerade, and get your pitch.
yeah.
It's so hard.
Um, Hold on. It looks like we have some questions. I'm gonna click on.
Okay.
Hold on. It makes me nervous because it takes me out of the screen. We've answered most of these. It looks like. Hello to everyone saying hi. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm gonna butcher these names, but someone said, "Did
It's
you
okay.
study the Rue or Kay's books to inspire you to play the Phantom?" I don't know what.
No.
Okay, I don't know what that.
Well, yeah, I have read some. I've read some of both, but as I was reading them, I realized that wasn't the story I was telling. And so I stopped reading the both of them in both shows. I I love the books. What I read of them, I love them as entities, and probably will read them one day when I'm no longer, affiliated with these shows. Um, and that to say, I also did not read Frederick Forsyth's *The Phantom of Manhattan* because I didn't want to tell things that were outside of our story. It, I don't know. I think I'm copping out of the reading of those, but it seemed like a lot of the information had been adjusted or changed in our version, and I didn't want to be like, but no, in the novel it said, I didn't want to be that guy. So I did not read any of them all the way through. But I think it's Susan Kay. I I did love most of everything I read of hers.
To help you, I guess, develop those roles, would you say it was like mostly watching past Phantoms or like using your own life experience or like a combination or like how did you?
The text always leads you there, you
Okay.
know, the circumstance of the show, the text, and the director. Those are the only three things you need. And the text is always the circumstance. So you really only need two things. You need a director and the text. And that's how you find it. It's not about, if I think about all the times I've seen men play the Phantom and Phantom of the Opera, I can't do what any of them do. I just can't. But I could do my own version for sure. And I could tell my truth in that text with the director's okay. Um, so yeah, I think that's all you need. You need a guiding eye and a good book.
I'm looking, sorry, we're getting comments. Okay, this is a good question. Since you've done like Broadway and you've done touring productions, which would you say you prefer, a touring show or a show with a residency?
Um, I think touring is a lot more fun. There are creature comforts of being on Broadway, getting to come back to your house every night, sleeping in your bed every night, having your routine, your friends, your family. But touring is the greatest gift any artist could ask for because you're being paid to literally tour the country, eat at restaurants that you would never have known existed, go to museums that you've only ever dreamed of seeing, meet locals that you would have never met had you just been in New York. Um, so I think I would get exhausted, but I think honestly, if you said you can only have one of two things, you can only do Broadway or you can only tour for the rest, I would choose to tour because it's just like being on Broadway, only better because you get to have a different opening night every week and you get to meet different people and eat different food. And, oh, it's just so much fun.
That's interesting because I feel like one of our other guests would have said the opposite. I
Yeah,
think,
and that's to
like,
each their
yeah,
own. Like
yeah.
if it was a him and we're the similar type, he can be on Broadway. I'll take his jobs on the tour. It's fine.
Um, then someone said, Sally said, I know you know I loved your Phantom of the Opera Snapchat takeover. Do you think you'll do that again? I loved seeing the backstage and you describing what everything does or means. You were so entertaining and kind.
Oh, that was nice. Gosh, well, you have to be invited to do those things. I think now that I've done it, it's kind of like, he's done it. We don't need to make him do it again. I think that was the most exhausting 3 days of my life because not only did I learn how to use chat, I had to keep the people entertained for 3 days. Um, so I don't think I'm going to be volunteering to do that ever again. But if they asked me to do it, I would say yes.
I didn't realize it was a 3-day takeover. Wow, that's a long
Yes.
take.
It was a very long takeover.
But
I don't know why it was 3 days.
those are really fun, the takeovers. I enjoy those a
Yeah.
lot.
I enjoyed them for a day, you know, very much.
We've had a few questions like this, and I don't know if you'll know the answer to these, but I'll ask in case. Anyone said any chance Love Never Dies will do a residency in Vegas as they did with Phantom of the Opera?
Oh, gosh, that's a sweet dream, but I don't think so. Um, the only plans I know for Love Never Dies right now are obviously up in the air because of COVID-19, but they are scheduled to do a UK tour that will become a world tour.
Oh,
But the
okay.
only three stops I've heard of so far are two in the UK and one in Canada. But I know the Canadian engagement just got pushed into next year, which it was supposed to be this year. So I have no idea what any of that's going to happen. But I do know from interviews that I've watched Andrew do post L&D US is that his hopes are to bring the production back to the US eventually. So whether that's a residency in Vegas or a Broadway show or another tour, all we can do is cross our fingers. If you're a fan of the show, post about it as much as you can. Let Andrew know that you want it back.
That's good advice. Um, I just want to acknowledge the local businesses tuning in. Thank you so much, Oak House Durham. And there also was a salon watching, so thank you guys. That's awesome.
That's
Thank
great.
you. Someone else asked if Love Never Dies tours around the U.S. again, will you resume your role as Eric slash Phantom?
Again, I would have to be asked because, it's a business and my contract is over. When the show closed, my contract was over. So I have no rights to the role. I don't own the role. They would have to ask me to do it. And if they did, I mean, right now I would sing the phone book for you if I could. You know what I mean? Like I have nothing to do. So yes, I would do it. But when the time comes, they would have to ask me to do it. And then I would have to be in a place to say yes. I would love to do it. I'll say that. I would love to do it.
Yeah, and you just said you love touring, so.
I do. I really do.
Yeah. Someone just had a nice comment that I want to read to you. I saw you on tour. It was fabulous. I didn't know how much I was going to love Love Never Dies. Your range is incredible. So I just wanted to
Thank
share.
you. That's so sweet. Thank you for sharing.
Aw, and Lauren said Durham was one of my favorite cities on tour. No joke. Such a surprising and charming town. Thank you.
Do you know what I remember the most about Durham? Two things. And I hope I'm right because, you get this tour brain happening where you forget where you are all the time. But Durham was so early I think Durham was our first stop after we opened. It was our first jump. Our opening night, we started an hour and a half late. Do you remember this? Were you
Yes,
there
yes,
for this?
yes,
We
yes,
started
yes.
something like an hour and a half late. The audience stood with us. Thank God they did. But I remember, I think the hotel is either connected to or very, very close to the Performing Arts Center, right?
Yeah, you're
And
remembering all.
there is a either like a Qdoba or a fast
Yeah,
food Mexican
Moe's.
Moe's. Mellow Mushroom and Moe's were my saving grace. I think 2 meals a day I was at one of those two places because Mellow Mushroom was just down the street, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Near the ballpark.
Yes, yes.
Good.
You
Yeah.
have
Yes.
it says we have 1 minute and 30 seconds remaining, so I just want to point that out. It
Oh
kicks you off,
gosh.
but
How
nonetheless,
rude.
remember that it was Halloween and
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
getting to our dressing rooms during the hold. Ah, I do remember that because I remember taking Megan on a press run the next day and her talking about like what was going on with the hour and a half delay and like the things that happened on stage that I had no idea. Like, because I think what happened was a truck didn't make it and like there was some
Went
stuff.
the
Cause
wrong city. Yeah, one
yeah,
of our trucks went to the wrong city.
but what was funny was like I didn't realize any of that when I watched the show and she was like I was supposed to get into a carriage but like it wasn't there. Oh, we have 50
Yeah.
something seconds left. Well,
This
thank
is
you so
crazy.
I know.
Well,
Thank
you're
you so
very
much.
welcome.
Yeah. This was
I
really
appreciate you
lovely.
asking me to do it.
Yeah, and thanks everyone that
Thank you.
tuned in. Everyone for
Yeah.
the questions. You guys are awesome. Um,
Yay.
yeah, any parting words? What's the first thing you're gonna do after quarantine, after we get out?
Go out to eat
Nice.
somewhere good with people, with lots of people,
Yeah. All
and hug the first person I see.
right. All right. It says 20. See if I can save it.
All
Thank
right.
you so
Bye,
much.
guys.
Bye.
See you
Thanks.
later. You're welcome.